rainy morning. Although you can see Diamond Head over there. I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii, where I live. I'm walking in my backyard right now. Thank you for joining me live this morning. For those of you who are wealth strategies, 11 wealth strategies that I use to be free. Now, I'm just setting up in my backyard and these tutorials during these webinars in the mornings before my son wakes up. And the reason I do that is because I actually like being with my son when he's awake. So I don't really do this. I am someone who absolutely loves my family. So let me give you my story really quick before we get started. Again, my name is May, M-E-Y. As you can see below, and my blog is kenditblog.com, and I got started doing internet marketing about in 2013. Well, a little before 2013, but I started with blogging, didn't have much success. In 2013, I found a business that I actually could succeed in. And I remember I was pregnant with my son, Jordan. I was 4 months pregnant. And I started this business, and I actually researched it really hard. I was like, what do I want to do? I love to write, I love to read, I love to talk to people. And someone was like, hey, maybe blogging would be your thing. And I was like, maybe. And then I heard about this guy who's succeeding in it. I clicked on his link, I joined his thing, and I remember 3 months in, I started making sales. I followed the inner circle training called How to Close 95% of your prospects. And then a week after I started making sales, like every other day, we had our first day where we made over $4,000. Now, my results are not typical. See full income disclaimer at workwithmay.com/income. However, I couldn't sleep that night because it was so much money to me. I had never made that much money before in my jobs, and I made it in a month, and I made it in a day. And then we did the same thing the next month, and that was a week before I gave birth to my son. So about right before I gave birth, we made about $10,000, and it was just blew my mind. So results not typical. I put the income disclaimer workwithmay.com/income. Hold on 1 second. Let's put that up there just so you have it. My results not typical. But that's my story of how I got into internet marketing. Now, today I want to share with you 11 wealth strategy I use to become completely debt free. So about 5 years ago, I started this process, and I really wanted to be wealthy. I really wanted to be financially free. And I realized that that was something I wanted. And I started doing the process. And it was kind of slow. It took me about 5 years to become completely debt free. However, in that process, I ended up creating income for myself, passive income. I have more money, and I did it in a way that felt pretty good. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, I was not happy with my finances. Okay, I had a lot of debt. I had to deal with credit card debt. Most of it was credit card debt. Like, I had almost $50,000 in debt, right? And I had virtually no money saved for myself. So it was just like, my net worth was negative. I didn't have money, and I was having a hard time. And I remember one time I got really depressed because I kept overdrafting, bouncing my checks at my bank account. So what that means is, like, how you pay a bill and then your check is no good because you don't have enough money in your checking account. Well, that would happen, and I worked at a bank at the time, so I was afraid I'd get fired. So the most embarrassing and the hardest moment of my life, I think, was when I had to go into my boss's office and I had to tell him why I kept bouncing checks. And it was embarrassing because it's like I have a money problem. I don't know how to handle my money. I'm working in a bank, and yet I'm talking to you, who obviously your money situation is better than mine, and I feel embarrassed because you're my age, and I wasn't doing well. So it was a really low point for me, really low. And I was really stressed out all the time. I didn't know if I would have enough money to pay all my bills. It was just really awful. And I put myself in that situation, and I didn't know why I put myself in the situation, and I had to figure out how to get out. So in this presentation, I'm going to share with you the 11 key wealth strategies that I use to change my finances. Then now I'm like happy about money. I enjoy money. I actually study about money all the time. Like I read books about money that other people might find boring. I find them so exciting, right? And I invest my money. We make more and more money every week. We have lots of money to work with, whereas before I had very little money, to spare. And now I have like money. We think about where are we going to invest it, what are we going to buy, things like that. Like things I never did before. I always have enough money to give to charity now, which never happened before, right? So my life situation has changed dramatically, and I want to share with you what I did, because you can do it too. You can change your money situation, become financially free, and feel good about money for a change. All right, so are you excited? I'm excited. I prepared a presentation for you, so let's get started. This is only going to be a half an hour, so I want you to take notes, replay it over and over, share this with your followers and friends. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. My blog is candoitblog.com. I'm going to put it back on the screen before I start. Definitely go there, get on my email list. When we go there, there's this big guy named Dave pointing, smiling, saying, check out my sister that made me ton of money. Put in your name and email address, and that's how you get on my email. Okay, and you get to see the system that I use to make money online, which is also super cool. Okay, so I'm going to screen share right now my presentation that I'm going to show you, and I'm very excited because I finally got Google Slides and I'm going to use it for the first time, and I'm excited. So welcome. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 11 key wealth strategies, and this is the background picture is actually a picture I took here in Honolulu, Hawaii, where I live, in Ala Moana Beach Park. And it's kind of been rainy and windy recently, so I picked a picture with the wind blowing the palm trees. I really love palm trees. Just so you know, that's one of the reasons I live in Hawaii. I just love beach and palm trees. Just love it. Okay, so let's get into it. Wealth strategy number 1 is to always pay yourself first. This one, when I was not doing well financially, I did not do this. Okay, and this is something I put as number 1 because it's the most important wealth strategy of all the books I've read on wealth, and I've read a lot of books. This is the one that everyone says. They all repeat the same thing. This is the one you have to do, and there's so many reasons why. So I'm going to stress this one really a lot because this is the big one. If you take anything from this presentation, this is the one thing. So write it down, highlight it, stick it on your mirror, just do it, and do it, okay? So what does it mean, pay yourself first? At least 10% of after-tax dollars goes into your financial freedom account. I call it a financial freedom account. I got this from Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, which I highly recommend you read. It's a great book. It's funny and easy to read. So if you're not really good with money, you'll still enjoy reading it. It's very easy to read. It's not technical. And it was my entry into wealth was this book. So I really recommend it. And he calls some people call it a retirement account, some people call it an investment account. I like the word financial freedom account. So I use that. And I actually label my account financial freedom account. Like I've labeled it that at my investment brokerage. So that's what it's called, okay? So at least 10% of everything you make after taxes goes into that account. And you put it in there first, before anything else. And yes, you do this even if you have debt right now. Some people are like, well, let me pay off my debt first and then I'll do it. No. Now, there's a lot of controversy about this point. Some people will say, pay off your debt first, then you save. But for me and my personal experience, having the money in an account growing while I was paying off debt made me feel better, okay? So that's the psychological benefit. There's a monetary benefit and a psychological benefit. Obviously, the monetary benefit is if you put money in this account, as you make money, your account will grow, right? So every time you look at it, it'll grow higher, faster, and you can even chart it. You can make a Excel spreadsheet graph and graph how your financial freedom account is growing. And it makes you feel good, right? And you need something to make you feel good when you have a lot of debt, because it's going to take a while to pay it off or renegotiate or whatever you're going to do to get rid of it. So during that time when you still have that debt, you're going to need something to pick you up emotionally and make you feel good. So the financial freedom account is an easy way to start. And all you do is you just start. Okay, so you start right now. Just that's it. And you always pay yourself first, before your creditors, before bills, before anything. Before you pay your rent, you pay yourself first. Now, why? You might be thinking, oh my gosh, I've never done that. And when I saw this, I had never done that either. I was like, what? Pay myself? First of all, I never paid myself. And then second, I was like, pay myself for my rent? That doesn't make sense. I didn't understand. But see, psychologically, if you pay yourself first, you're saying that you're important, that you're worth the money, that you're wealthy, right? And that you deserve it. Plus, it's your money. You made it. You should pay yourself first, before your bills. And then the bills, everybody else who needs money from you, they need to wait in line. You are first in line to get paid from you. And so psychologically, it makes you more important, and that becomes a wealthy mindset, right? You start to have a wealthier, you start to feel more wealthy. So to me, this part is the most important part. You start now. If you don't have enough money to take 10% out, which, you know, when I started, I did, but maybe you don't. Start with $1. Take $1 and take 10 cents out of $1 every day and put it in a jar. I actually did that symbolically as well when I started, and I'll tell you more about that later. But you can start small, but put money in it every day. Okay? Do 10% of something. 10% of $1 is a good way to start. You don't have $1, borrow $1 every day. Get $1 from someone. Someone will give you $1. Okay? So that's the first strategy. I've talked about it a lot because it's important. You need to pay yourself first. Okay? How do you create a financial freedom account? Go to the bank, open a new checking account. You can make a savings account too, and then call it financial freedom account. They let you title your accounts anything you want. Banks are very friendly. They want you to open accounts. They'll put your name on it, and then underneath they'll have a title line, and you can write anything you want. You can say financial freedom account, and they'll totally write that in for you. Whatever you want to call it, just open an account. Start with a bank account. Later, you might open a brokerage account, depending on how you're going to do this. If you have a 401k or an IRA, this also counts as a financial freedom account. So if you're putting 10% in 401k, that would count. Okay? All right. Number 2, manage your money wisely. So this one's important. You've probably heard this before. I'm going to talk about it a little differently. First thing I'm going to talk about is invest versus spend. Okay. One of the things I tell people about their financial freedom account is you never spend it. Okay. So the money you pay yourself into that savings account or checking account that's called your financial freedom account, you will never, ever, ever spend it. Now you might be thinking, oh my gosh, why am I doing that? What's the point of money if you don't spend it? Well, that's why you're poor. Okay. You need to actually invest money to grow wealthy. Okay, not spend it. If you're spending it, you're getting poor. If you're investing it, you're getting wealthier and richer, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, I didn't understand this when I started my financial freedom journey. Right. So, but if you invest your money, it grows. Okay. If you spend it, it shrinks. Does that make sense? Now, you might think that's so simple. Of course, it makes sense. But look at what you do with your money. Are you spending it all, or are you investing it? I've had people who save money in their financial freedom account, right? They get to like $5,000, and then what do? They want to spend it on something. They might want to buy a course that's supposed to teach them something about their business, educational product or something. And what I tell them is, no, don't spend it. Don't spend it. Spending is not what you do with it, okay? You have other money for spending. This money, your financial freedom account money, is for investing. Right? And you need to know the difference between investing and spending. What's one way of investing? If you decided to buy a house with your money and rent it, then you're investing. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you bought the house, you still own the house, and now you're renting it, so you're making money from the rental, and you still own the house, and you could sell it later if you had to, but you could keep it and just make money from the rental. That's investing, all right? Spending is like, even if you think you're investing in yourself, okay? Investing in yourself. I'm buying this course, I'm going to this seminar. It's still spending because you're not making any return. Okay, you have to see, am I going to have a return? Is this money going to make me money? If you're going to say, theoretically it will, because I'll use what I learned in the course, and then I'll make more money, I'm going to say it depends, but I'm going to say no. Okay, I'm going to say no, because we're going to have a separate strategy for education. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to say this money is not for courses, not for books, it's not for spending, it's for investing, right? Now, another way to manage your money wisely is to do a cash account and layering investment strategy. And I learned this from The Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini. Another book I highly recommend, though it is not as easy to read, but it will help you learn to read money books and like them. The Values Factor is a really good book, actually. But let's talk about, what is a cash account? A cash account is an account where you have cash, obviously, right? So what this cash account does is it allows you to feel good about your money situation now. So what does that mean? So people say save up at least like 3 months. You might save up, I've heard between 2 months and a year. I've heard even 3 years. You save enough money to cover your monthly expenses for at least 2 months, but you can go longer. So let's say if you made $1,000 a month, just for example, then you would save at least $2,000 and keep it in this account. And you could call it anything you want. This is also a part of your financial freedom account, but it's layering your financial freedom account. So you never spend this money either, all right? I don't like to call it an emergency fund, because then it sounds like you want emergencies to happen in your life, you're expecting them. You can call it a cash account, reserve account. Basically, it's just there to give you money. It's kind of like a buffer. It makes your life more stable to know that you have money. So if, let's say you lose your job and you have to find a new one. While you're looking, you're not going to be scared. But even if you don't lose your job, you're going to feel better knowing that you have the money there. So just in case you ever did have something happen, you still feel good, right? So it's and we call it the stability of liquidity. Having a lot of liquid cash, money. Liquid means you can move the money quickly, so it's like cash. Liquid as opposed to like real estate, which is not liquid because you have to sell it, that's a process. But cash is like liquid. If you have money, cash set aside somewhere safe that you can access easily, it just makes you feel wealthy, and it makes you more stable, and you end up acting like you have more money because you do, and you feel better. So there's a lot of reasons to have it. Now, sometimes you might even use it and then pay it back. Okay, that's what that account is. So it's like a buffer for your wealth. All right. After you create that, then you create different investments, and you layer them in terms of risk. So maybe your cash account is a savings account, which is extremely low risk, right? Because it's in a bank and it's insured by the federal FDIC up to $250,000. So you can put money in there and you know it's going to be there. So that's a very stable, low risk investment. Also makes very little money, right? It makes like 0.01%, or at most maybe 1%, right? So that account doesn't give you a high return. However, it's very stable. And then the next layer, and you just keep building layers up. The next layer of money you save up. So maybe you save up 2 months of money and you put it in your cash account. And then you save up another 2 months of money. And that money, maybe you invest it in bonds. Okay, so something not as more risky that gives you a higher return. Right now, bonds don't really give you very high returns, so I don't know if you would invest in bonds, but you invest in something, maybe whole life insurance. Whole life insurance that's created by a bank of yourself. These special advisors called Bank on Yourself advisors, they make these policies that grow cash value faster. Maybe you do that in your second layer, okay? And then in your third layer, you do something a little more risky. So maybe you invest in, maybe you buy a real estate property, or maybe you buy stocks that are in a real estate holding company that pay you dividends, and so that's a higher return and a higher risk investment. And then you keep going up to even higher and higher risk investments. So that's what you call layering investments. So you start like conservative and then you go up, okay? So that's after you start putting money in your financial freedom account. This is where you start thinking about, what do I do with my money? And I put in a budgeting strategy here you could use. I used it when I started. Is I put 10% in my financial freedom account. 10% went for play, fun. So you just spend it on things that make you feel rich, like massages, manicures, pedicures, going out to fancy dinners, things like that. Education, 10%, that's where you spend your money for your books and your courses and your seminars and whatever you need. 10% is a long-term saving for spending account. So that could be you want to save for a car, or you want to save for vacation, something where you're saving and it's going to be spent, but not right now. You need to save up some money. 5% you give to charity, to your community, not to your friends, not for birthday gifts. Give is for like charity, just, your community. And then 55% goes into necessities like your rent and your food. And you can experiment, okay? You can experiment with your investing. Invest a little money here and there, see the return. Experiment with your budget, see if it feels good for you. For me, this budget felt good for me. And it's also from T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. When I used this budget, I felt safe and secure knowing that I was doing the right thing with my money, and it helped me feel good because I knew I was following a budget. And when I first started, I couldn't actually follow this budget. I had to put more money in necessities than 5%. So what I did was I broke up $1 every day into these denominations, and I put them in different jars. And they teach you how to do that at the Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar, which is by Peak Potentials. It's a company that runs it, and it was founded by T. Harv Eker, although he doesn't own it anymore. But they teach you how to do this budget, and this budget, I really enjoyed it and liked it, so I put it there for you. But like I said, you experiment on something that works for you, as long as it feels good, as long as you're investing, not spending, in your financial freedom account, and as long as you pay yourself first, then you can, this part you can figure out. But if you're like me and you needed structure, then just follow this budget right here. Track your net worth. Wealth strategy number 3 is track your net worth. Net worth is a measure of wealth, right? If you want to be wealthy, you need to know your net worth. When I went into my boss's office that day and I was all embarrassed about how little money I had, he told me to calculate my net worth. My boss told me to do it. And that means find out what you have. Net worth equals what you have minus what you owe. So everything you have, add it up, all your money. So all the cash you have, any money in your checking account, savings account, any money, if you have a house, then the equity in your home, so what you actually own, the part of the home that you actually own, the equity in your home. If you have a car, the blue book value of your car if you sold it now, okay, things like that. You take everything you have, add it up, and then you take everything you owe, all your credit card debts, add them all up, all your loans, your mortgage, whatever you owe, add it up, and then you take what you have and subtract what you owe, and that's your net worth. Okay? What you focus on grows. So what you want to do is you want to track your net worth and focus on your net worth. If you focus on your net worth, it'll grow. And you want it to grow because that's the measure of true wealth. If you ever listen to the news and they talk about people who are wealthy, they talk about their net worth, right? This person has a net worth of this. This person has a net worth of that. That's how people measure someone's wealth. They do it by net worth, okay? You might have a lot, but if you owe more than you have, then you have a negative net worth. When I started my journey in financial freedom, I had a negative net worth, okay? That means I didn't have much and I owed a lot of money. So my net worth was negative. At the lowest point, my net worth was negative 33, 34,000. Okay, so that was my net worth, negative. So what you're going to do is calculate your net worth, and you can use a program. I use Mint, M-I-N-T. That one is really good. You can use mint.com, and I calculate my net worth. And it does it automatically, actually. It connects to all your accounts, and it updates when you log in, and then it shows you at the bottom your net worth. So it's really easy to track it when you have mint.com, when you use Mint. Or you can just do your own calculations, but calculate your net worth and track it. Put it in an Excel spreadsheet or just track it every month. Plot your net worth and see if it's growing, okay? It's a good way to keep on track because you're less likely to borrow money when you're looking at your net worth. Because if you borrow money, your net worth is going to go down and then you'll be going backwards, right? But if you save money in your financial freedom account, your net worth will go up. So it's really exciting. Definitely track your net worth. Wealth strategy number 4, renegotiate the terms of your money. So how can you renegotiate the terms of your money? What does that mean? Right now, your money, you're spending it in certain ways and you're saving it in certain ways, okay? If you have credit card debt, you probably have a high interest rate, all right? And you probably are paying it off maybe really slowly. It might take your whole life to pay off this credit card debt, right? So one way to change the terms of your debt is to consolidate your credit card debt. And what does that mean? You can go and find a bank that will give you a loan for a lower interest rate, and then you tell them, I want to apply for this loan to consolidate my credit card debt. You have to have good credit to do this, okay? When I was doing this, I had good credit. I just owed a lot of money, okay? So what I did was I applied for this loan, and I used it to pay off my highest interest credit cards. The loan has a lower interest rate, right? When I did it, I think I got an interest rate of like 5 or 6% or something. I think it was like 5%. And I paid off a credit card that had an interest rate of like 12% or 11 or something. So the interest rate went down a lot. Plus, my payment schedule, personal loans, they're scheduled to pay off in like 5 years, 4 or 5 years. A credit card, if you do the minimum payment only, it will take you a long time, longer than 5 years to pay it off. And that's just because the way they calculate minimum payment on credit cards is different from loans. So that's the first strategy. Second one, renegotiate what you pay for everything. All right? That means with your credit card, renegotiate with your auto insurance, renegotiate with your cell phone company, renegotiate with your, all your bills, everything. And you can do one at a time. Pick the one that you're paying the most cost, okay? So I started with my credit cards that had the highest interest rate. So this is what you do. The first thing you do is you call and you ask for what you want. So let's say it's my credit card. So I called and I said, I want to have an interest rate of 5%. Now, I don't know about you, but it's really hard to find a credit card that'll give you an interest rate so low, like 5%. But I was like, you know what? I want an interest rate of 5%. Now, usually they said no, okay? So that's when you take notes. You take notes on who you're talking to, right? They always introduce themselves, write down their name, when you're talking to them, so write the date and the time, and what they said, okay? So you're talking to Charlene, she says, and it's Monday, September 17, I'm sorry, Saturday, September 17, and she said she can't change your rate to 5%, right? So then you say, I want to speak to your manager, right? And then when you get the manager, you do the same thing. Ask for what you want. Take notes on their name. When you talk to them, what they said, and ask their manager. Okay, I did this process, right? And it worked. Okay, I reduced every single rate on all of my credit cards doing this process. Sometimes they reduced it immediately just because I asked. Sometimes I had to go all the way up to the president of the company, fax them a letter, but they still reduced my rate. Now, they may not have reduced it to 5%, but they reduced it, right? And you have to figure out what you want and ask for it, and just keep going up and up and up until you get it. Now, the interesting thing is the person who taught me this, he was financially free at 35 years old, okay? And he told me something really important. The higher up you go, the more reasonable people are, okay? Because the president of the company is going to look at this debt and be like, yeah, you're right. That's a lot of interest. I wouldn't pay that. Yeah, sure. I'll do what you say. So few people do this. Like, people do not do this, right? They do not call and ask for things. They just take it, or they ignore their problems, right? But if you actually do this and you actually go high enough, you're probably the only person that's ever talked to them and asked them straight up for this. Or you're one of very few. So they're more likely to grant your request because you made it up to them, and they haven't heard so many people ask them, so they're like, okay, do you understand? When I first learned this, it was like, to me, it was like gold. I had never thought about it before, and I was like, wow. And I started doing it. It was kind of scary, but I just did it, and it worked, right? And sometimes I did it with my friend next to me to give me moral support, because I was like, you know, I didn't want to do it, because I was afraid to stand up for myself, really. And once you start doing it, it gets easier. But doing it makes a big difference. It'll save you. It saved me thousands and thousands of dollars. I remember on one credit card, the one that I faxed my request to the president, that credit card I was paying about 12% in interest or something like that, 12.99 or something. And I went all the way to the president, faxed them a letter, and I told them that I want 5% interest. I'm a good customer, always pay my bills on time, been a customer since whatever year, and it's just unreasonable. And if they don't change it to 5%, I'm going to close out the account and move it to another institution. And what they did, the secretary of the company called me and said what they would do is reduce it to 8%, which is what it was before they changed the rate like years ago. They would refund me all the interest I had paid the prior years after they increased it from 8%. And they would just close the account, meaning that I couldn't charge anymore, but I would just pay it off. And I took that because, wow, you know, that I got back over $1,000 in interest. They just credited it to my credit card, and they reduced my rate to 8%. Now, all I had to do to get that was I faxed the letter to the president. Now, I had to go up through the ranks, but I finally got the president's fax number and faxed him that letter. And look at that. Just from one letter, I earned myself over $1,000. Over $1,000. So doing this process works, and it really saves you a lot of money. You can do the same thing, renegotiating with what you pay for auto insurance, renegotiating what you pay for your cell phone. Basically, renegotiate everything about your money. Make it work for you. Okay, make it benefit you for a change. Number 5, this is really important, and it's what got you where you are in the first place, is adopt wealth thinking. When I first started my wealth journey, I didn't realize I had thoughts about money that were not good for me. And that's what was causing me to become poor. Like, I would ask myself questions like, why am I so poor? Not a good question to ask yourself. Right? Questions are extremely powerful, and they make your brain think of the answer, right? So if you ask yourself, why are you so rich instead, or why am I so wealthy or so smart about money, then your brain has to think of answers, and it will. It'll start coming up with answers. You want to ask yourself empowering questions, right? You want to focus on your goal. What is your goal? My goal when I started my journey 5 years ago was become financially free, all right? I wanted to become financially free. So I wrote my goal down. I read it daily. I said to myself, I am financially free. I am financially free. I said it every day to myself out loud. I did it like for years, every day. Okay. And that comes to affirmations. You can say things to yourself. Wealth comes easily. Opportunities for passive income come often. Just say to yourself thoughts and things that will make you wealthy. All right. And that will basically replace what is not making you wealthy. Oops, I'm going to go back. Sorry. So there is actually a procedure you can use, the belief change procedure. And this is, I forgot the method. There's a method I got. It's a method that I learned it. I forgot the name of it right now. I have to look it up. But basically, this is what you do. You identify a belief that isn't working for you. So let's say you have a belief that money is the root of all evil. Maybe you have a belief that money is the root of all evil, okay? Which is not, but maybe that's your belief, right? So first you have to figure out that that is your belief. Oh, I have this belief that money is the root of all evil. Then you have to challenge and question that belief. So then you say, is money really the root of all evil? Isn't money what builds hospitals and orphanages? And isn't money what I use to feed my children? And isn't money what I use to house my family? And isn't money used to, build schools and buy books and create beautiful art and music? And once you start challenging and questioning, you're going to realize, you know what? That belief isn't true, right? And then what you do is you replace it. So instead of saying money is the root of all evil, now you can say money is the root of good, right? Money improves the world. And money is good. Money is holy and blessed. Something like that. Change the belief. And then you can use affirmations to say it every day. Money is blessed. Money is blessed. Whatever you decide to do. So that's how you change your beliefs. And this is really important because if you don't work on your wealth thinking, then you probably won't succeed. You probably won't even do number one, which is pay yourself first, right? You know why? Because you're not going to think you're worthy. If you do not start thinking about your worth and changing your ideas about your own self-worth, your actions will reflect that, right? Because what you believe, what you think about, you act on. Right? So if you think, hey, I'm hungry, I want a sandwich, you go and get a sandwich, right? So if you think, hey, why am I so poor? You're going to think about all the reasons you're poor, and then you're going to talk to people about it, and then you're going to become poor. So instead, you need to think about being wealthy, right? Now, you can do this by reading books, all kinds of things, but basically, take a goal, write it down, do the affirmations, change the beliefs that are not helping you. Wealth strategy number 6 is increase your passive income. Passive income is money you make on autopilot, meaning that if you don't do anything, if you go on a vacation, you're still making this money, right? How do you make money on autopilot? There's different ways. Here's some examples. There's more ways to do it than this, but these are examples. You might make interest on your savings or CDs, right? Royalties on books that you publish. Maybe you have a book on Amazon and it keeps getting sold, so you keep getting money from it. If you have a blog or a website and you have income coming in from that, you might own stocks that pay you dividends. You might have rental property that pays you rental income and that you don't actually manage, you have a management company manage. There's other ways to do it, but you have to find ways and start to increase your passive income. And you do this with your financial freedom account money, right? And once you start doing your financial freedom account, you already will have interest from your savings, right? And then you have to find ways to increase it. Wealth strategy number 6, reduce your expenses. So for chronic credit card users, maybe only carry cash in your wallet and cut up your cards, right? I'm sure you've heard that. It can really help people who spend too much. Make a time limit for large purchases. So maybe if you have to set a limit, and that's a dollar limit and a time limit. So let's say if you're going to buy anything over $10 or $100, whatever your limit is. Maybe it's $10, let's say. If you're going to spend anything over $10, you need to wait a day to think about it, right? Or maybe it's $100, okay? And then after you've waited a day to think about it, then you can decide if you want to pay it or not. That'll stop, like, what do you call that? When you just spend, something comes up and you just buy it right away. It'll stop you from doing that. Eliminate unnecessary costs. Like, I don't have television. That saves me a lot of money. I know some people pay $100 a month for their TV. I don't pay any of that, so I save $100 a month right there. I don't buy beverages. Beverages are really not necessary. All you have to do is drink water. Now, you might be like, what is she talking about? But people spend so much money on beverages. Like, they'll buy soda, they'll buy coffee at Starbucks, they'll buy, like, alcohol, you know, when all you need to do is drink water. So don't buy beverages. I mean, if you just don't buy beverages, you save yourself so much money. It's, like, ridiculous. And then cigarettes, if you smoke, cigarettes are expensive, you know. That one's a little harder because cigarettes are kind of addictive, but you already know that you need to quit, so now you have another reason to save money when you quit. So reduce your expenses. Wealth strategy number 8 is gratitude. And this comes in with the adopt a wealthy mindset. People who are wealthy, really wealthy, and are becoming more wealthy, usually they practice gratitude. How do you feel wealthy, right? How do you actually feel wealthy? What happens is you're happy with what you have, right? Right? Because you feel like you have more than enough. And gratitude is a way to feel that way right now. Because we really do have more than enough. If we can breathe, you know, if we can sit here and watch this webinar, that means we have a computer, we have internet, we have all these things that a lot of people have never had. So you can be grateful for so many things. And a lot of my wealth mentors say to practice it every morning when you wake up, every night before you go to bed, so that you're thinking about it when you sleep. So some of the things you can think about is, you can say things like, I'm grateful for all the money I have right now. I'm grateful for my bills, right? Because somebody was nice enough to lend you money in advance and then bill you. That means they trust that you'll pay it, and they give you the service beforehand, right? I got these from You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, which is a very good book. She has a whole chapter on money, and in there she talks about these different kinds of affirmations you can use with money and how to feel grateful. Number 9 is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is important because when you have grudges or you hold resentment, it really drains your mental energy, physical energy, and it makes you miserable, right? And the point of having a wealthy life is to feel good, right? And to have more than enough, and to feel like you have everything that you want, right? So one of those things is to forgive, and that lets go of all this emotional baggage. First thing you can do is focus on forgiving others that you feel upset with. Now, this is not easy to do. Of all the wealth strategies I'm pointing out, this one might be the hardest for people because they really don't want to forgive some people, right? They're like, no, they really did me wrong, blah, blah, blah. And everyone is doing what they did the best that they can do in the moment. And maybe someone hurt them, and that's why they hurt you. And it's just kind of this wealth string, not wealth string. It's like this negativity cycle running through time that you can stop right now. Just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you have to hurt, right? And when you're not forgiving people, only you are hurting because you're the one feeling it, right? The person that you're not forgiving, they might not even think about you ever. But if you don't forgive them, inside you, you're holding this negativity toward them. So forgive them and know that they did the best they could with what they knew. And if you put yourself in their shoes, maybe you'll understand why they did it. Okay? Forgive yourself. So there's a lot of things that I did that I felt bad about. When I was in debt, I felt bad about getting into debt. I felt bad about spending. I felt bad about so many things. I had to forgive myself. I felt bad that I was highly educated and yet I was a failure in terms of my career and money in my eyes, right? So I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself and let it go. You know, I did the best I could with what I knew and what I had, and it's okay. So I just forgave myself for spending more money than I had. I forgave myself for using credit cards at high interest rates and then not paying them off. You know, I forgave myself for so many things that I did, right? That I'm not even mentioning to you. Whatever it is you did, it's okay. You can forgive yourself, right? So how can you forgive? There's this method that I learned as well. I forgot the name of this method as well, but there's a method, and there's 3 steps. The first thing you do is you say, is it possible? So, is it possible to forgive whoever? So let's say you're mad at Jack because Jack stole your car or whatever. So you're thinking in your mind, is it possible to forgive Jack for stealing your car? And you're like, in your mind, you're like, well, I guess it's possible. Doesn't mean you're doing it. It's just, okay, I suppose it's possible to forgive Jack. The step is to say, will I forgive Jack? And maybe your answer is no, or maybe your answer is yes. I will forgive Jack. And then the third one is, when will I forgive Jack? Okay, I will forgive Jack next week, Monday, right? Or whatever. If you actually follow that process, it's easier to forgive somebody. So I highly recommend it, and it works, and it will make you feel so much better about your life, especially when you forgive yourself. I mean, you just feel freer and happier. You know, you're like, I am doing the best that I can do, and I'm doing great, and then you just feel good about yourself. You know, it's like forgiveness is key to wealth. Number 10 wealth strategy is get support. So get support, and this means on how to become wealthy. You can read books. That's what I used to do. I used to read books written by people like T. Harv Eker, John Demartini, George Clason wrote Richest Man in Babylon. There's so many books out there that you can read that will give you the support you need to become wealthy. Go to seminars. I went to the Millionaire Mind Intensive seminar. I don't think it's called that anymore. I think it's called Millionaire Mind Experience now. That was a really good seminar for me. I went to the Side Basics seminar. That was a very good seminar. These seminars, you meet other people. That's a good place where you can make friends, you know, with people who have similar goals, so you're not alone. So seminars are good because you meet other people. Sometimes being there in person makes something sink in more, you know. So seminars are great. And then find mentors. And there's actually a process to finding a mentor. You need to find a mentor who has more success than you. They have what you want. Okay, so you need to find someone who's actually wealthy in the way that you want to be. All right, they're wealthy. If you're healthy like me, you want to make sure they're also healthy. So that will eliminate like most financial planners and anyone who wants to give you advice. Just wealthy and healthy will eliminate most of them, because I've met a lot of financial planners who are overweight, who are not healthy, and then automatically I do not take their advice because they cannot take care of their health, and I am already healthy. And then if they're healthy, you have to ask them, do they have the goal that you want? Now for me, my goal was, and still is, I want $3,000 a month in consistent monthly passive income. So I won't work with anyone who does not make that much money every month in passive income, right? Now, you have your own goal. You might have a higher goal than me. You might have a lower one. Whatever it is, whatever your goal is, that person you're taking advice from needs to have that already solved. I have a lot of millionaire mentor friends. Their net worth is over $1 million. So these are the people you want to take advice from. Okay, so make sure your mentor is someone who is similar to you. If you have kids, if you have a family, like you're married and you have kids, make sure the person you're getting advice from is also married and has kids. And don't have kids, you're not going to understand your situation, because a single person and a married person are going to have different circumstances. Now, if you're single, then you want your mentor to also be single. So just look for someone who is like you, but they've gotten to where you want to be. That is your mentor. And that advice has really changed my life. It's eliminated a lot of people from being my mentor, which made it a lot easier for me to find good advice. So get support. Finally, wealth strategy number 11 is to give. And I did share with you my budget before. I'm sharing it with you again. One of the reasons it made me feel so wealthy is because of the give. As soon as I started doing it and saving, and I only saved 5%, you can do 10% if you like. You can adjust your necessities and do 10% instead of 5 and change necessities to 50. That's totally fine. But when I started giving, I started giving money to charities. I started being able to participate in like auctions at charity events. You know, I remember I was at the Pro Bowl, and there was a charitable auction to support Special Olympics. And I remember I could bid, and I won a football signed by a Buffalo Bills player, and I won it. I had enough money to bid up to like $200 or $250 or whatever I got the ball for, and I had the money in my Give account. So I could bid it, and I won it, and I felt so wealthy. And all the money went to the Special Olympics. So I just felt so good. Giving makes you feel wealthy. And when you give away what you want to have more of it will come to you. So when I gave away that money, you know, more money comes in my life. I feel good about money. I just feel good about, it makes you feel good about why you're even doing this whole wealth thing. Why do you want to even become wealthy? You realize the power you have on the people that you love and on the people in the community that you don't even know yet, but you can make a huge impact on their life. Only by changing one little thing in your budgeting. Is just having this budget really changed my life. I really love this budget. And being able to give and always have money for charity, that was one of the biggest changes once I started, and it happened instantly just by rearranging my money. Having a Give account was such a big difference in my life. So I highly recommend that you give. If you don't have any strategy for giving, then you can adopt this budget right here. It's from Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. 10% pay yourself first into your financial freedom account. 10% goes to education. 10% for long-term savings for spending. 10% goes to fun, 5% goes to give, and 55% to necessities. Okay,